Like, you've been warming up sitcoms for like, what, 30 years?
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
And what
So
does that mean?
Nobody knows what a warm up is. So every show that films in front of a live audience needs someone to keep the audience entertained while the actors go change their clothes and do set changes. So you go in thinking it's only going to be 22 minutes. No, it's 4.5 to 5 hours long. And so when they're changing their clothes on Cheers, Shelley Long used to iron her clothes in between every take so they wouldn't look wrinkled. So those takes took a long time. And some people have a hard time memorizing their lines. And so I won't mention those names. But then you do take after take after take. The warm-up guy the audience has to start off at a certain level, and you have to be able to hear what the producers want for the laugh level, and it has to stay there the whole show. And so if they're lagging, you do a contest or play music or something to get them pumped up again. But by the time the show is over, the audience has to know that, this is where that joke hits, and you got to laugh hard there. And when you do a scene 2 or 3 times, the audience gets bored with it, and you got to make sure that they're laughing the same the third take as they did the first take. So it's a very specific job, but you don't have to go on the road, and you get to be with a family, and it really trains you how to ad-lib, because people don't want to hear your material. You just have to ad-lib for hours and hours on end. So it makes you very comfortable in front of a crowd.
How did you fall into a job like that? That seems like a dream job for someone like me. How did you do it?
It's an absolute dream job. It started off, there was a comic named Ray Combs. He was the host of Family Feud for a while.
Yeah, he was a comic?
Yeah, he was a comic, and he lied his way into a TV show. And he called up as his own agent saying, "Oh, I got this great guy. His name is Ray Combs. He'd be perfect for a warm-up." So he talked his way into a show. He had no act. He'd never done it before. So he came over to my place, and we just jammed, and we wrote an entire act.
I'm comedian Timmy Boyle, and this is the greatest live Instagram comedy experience that nobody knew about.
Hey everybody, it is 7 o'clock, day 14. Well, not day 14 of doing the Cquarantine, but day 14 of doing this show. This is episode 14 of Calling Comedians in Cquarantine. Welcome to Marijane Baker and Suzanne DeVries. Cadet Levson, thank you so much for tuning in. So like I said, this is episode 14 of Calling Comedians in Cquarantine. We have talked to some amazing comedians over the last 2 weeks now. This all started just because I was stuck in my home and gigs had vanished, and I was like, what am I going to do to keep finding ways to entertain myself and others? And then I decided, hey, let's try this technology thing that everybody's been talking about, that I've been avoiding like the plague, and then the plague hit. So I figured, well, can't avoid that plague, so I might as well jump into technology. So I started this live Instagram show 14 days ago, and now we are excited about tonight's episode. Last night we had young comic Sheridan Richardson was on, and she's on our Upstanding Comedy roster. She was on last night in her onesie, and you never know where this show is going to go. She ended up playing the drums for us. And then, hey, Jennifer O'Brien Comedy. Jennifer O'Brien Comedy is here. She's going to be actually on tomorrow night's show. She's coming in to spy a little bit. And anyway, Sheridan was there. We didn't know where that was going to take us. And then a couple nights ago, Ed Wiley was on. And out of nowhere, we got a view of a whole lot of goats, because Ed Wiley has goats. So that was super cool. So I don't know where this journey's going to go tonight, but I do know that you are in for a great time. Our guest tonight will be Robert G. Lee. Hopefully he is going to kind of show up here very soon. Hello to all those waving. I don't even know what to do about that. I'm trying to wave. I'm trying to wave for real. I'm trying to wave virtually. But anyways, your guest tonight is Robert G. Lee, and I will be calling him as soon as he shows up here. How you guys doing? Anybody got anything, any good news here while we're waiting for Robert G. Lee to show up? Anybody got anything good? Tell me something good, people. Let's go. Let's, as we start off this show. Actually, you know what? This is fascinating. This would be actually the time that Robert G. Lee would be at his best. because Robert G. Lee opens up for sitcoms. He's kind of the warm-up comic. And now, this would have been actually the time that Robert G. Lee should have come in here and got you guys all going. So maybe what we'll do is we'll talk to Robert about possibly being the warm-up comic for this show. Maybe he should show up at 6:30, just start to get you guys all excited, and then we'll hand it over to me. That would be kind of cool. We'll talk to Robert about that. Jennifer's dog is currently not barking. That is not a good thing, I don't imagine. I don't have a dog, per se. But, well, per se. No, that's the wrong sentence. That's not even a true sentence. I have a potato. That's not a dog. Oh, but I do have this here. I do have an Odie. I have a giant Odie. This is the dog that I have. I'm not really a dog person. I'm more like a cat person for obvious reasons, because cats are much better. But I'm sorry to hear that your dog is not barking, Jennifer. I did tell Robert that it was 7 p.m. Eastern time. Thank you, Marijane Baker. And hello to Jamie United, who's tuning in here on Calling Comedians in Cquarantine. I'm assuming that Cadet Levson here is agreeing in the fact that cats are better than dogs, because that's really the only thing I've said so far that is a definitive statement of yes. Yes, I would agree. That's the only thing that I've kind of said for that. See, Suzanne loves Odie. So let me try to see here if we can somehow find Robert G. Lee and get him on here. Let's do this. I'm doing a technology thing here. I'm physically going to try to call him while you guys are here. Robert G. Lee. I sent a message now. I'm calling Robert G. Lee. You know, the beautiful thing of live entertainment, which is what this is that anything can go wrong. And so far, in 14 days of doing this show, we have completely and utterly lost an episode because my phone shut off partway through the really good part of the interview. But that was my own fault. I didn't charge it. And then we had problems with people's connections. Ed Wiley was in his car, doing it from his car. I don't know why. He wanted to get away from his kids, and then we ended up going outside to his goats, but there was no Wi-Fi close to the goats, so that was a little bit of a problem. Alton Walker's here. Ladies and gentlemen, that guy is in shape, or at least he's very much making other people in shape. Alton Walker has a super cool comedy experience going down there. Roy agrees with me that cats are better than dogs and Batman is better than Superman. On all accounts, Roy, that is why I love you. Jamie says Hulk Hogan is better than the Ultimate Warrior. Yes, that is true. And you can see the Hulkster right up there. There's Hulkster, and then there's Alyssa Milano, maybe 1-2 or 2-1 in the order of amazingness in the world. So I do agree with Jamie United there. And Joy says that Superman doesn't need a car. Very true. But the fact that Batman needs a car and can still, according to the movie, spoiler alert, he would have beat Superman. So he's a human being that could have beat a person or an alien that could circle the earth and turn back time, but he couldn't beat Batman. That's what that movie actually proved. So, yeah. So there's not a Superman argument out there that will convince me otherwise. He's a lame character and a completely irrelevant character. And they tried to reboot Superman movies for years while Batman had done like trilogies after trilogies. And then eventually they just decided, let's just put Batman in a Superman movie. That way it will work. And that's what ended up happening. Cats and dogs are not equals, Suzanne DeVries. That is not a true statement. I didn't want this beginning to be this debate because you are on Calling Comedians in Cquarantine, and this was supposed to be us talking to Robert G. Lee, who we are currently waiting on. I did send him a message, though, And so he is supposed to be here, and hopefully he will tune in soon. This is episode 14. Jennifer O'Brien Comedy, who will be on the show tomorrow night, is making sure she gets her points in early here, and she hopes that Superman's not listening. Now, here's the thing. Even if Superman was listening, do I fear Superman? No. You know why? Let me show you why. Doo-doo-doo. That's why. I am Batman. Might as well just reveal it here. Why not? Because I know that if any of you tried to go and tell anybody else that, oh, Timmy Boyle's Batman, nobody's going to believe you, right? It's like when I tell people that the Earth is flat. It doesn't matter if it's true. People are like, no, that's a conspiracy. So I can tell you I'm Batman. I'll show you the mask, everything. That mask was handed down to me from Michael Keaton, who was Batman in 1989. And he passed on the torch, if you would, or the cowl in this particular case. And so I've had that and have been running around the streets of Stirling, Ontario, and a lot of Hastings County in general. Not necessarily stopping crime, but standing on rooftops, watching to make sure crime doesn't happen. And if I see crime happening, I'm kind of like way up on a roof, so it kind of is tough for me to actually get down in time. So sometimes the crime just has to kind of play out. But I was like a guardian of sorts up there on the thing. Hey, everybody. The great and legendary and I guess habitually late. I don't know if that's true, Robert G. Lee. But Robert G. Lee is here. There is no crime in Stirling, Suzanne, mainly because there are no people in Stirling. Well, there are, just none of us leave our houses. We've actually been perfecting social distancing for over 150 years here in Stirling. So when everyone else is complaining about it, I'm like, this is what we do. We don't go outside and talk to people anyways. So anyways, Robert G. Lee is here. We're going to bring him in here. Ladies and gentlemen, this is episode 14 of Calling Comedians in Cquarantine, and we are about to bring in Robert G. Lee. Let's hope that... Robert. Do we gotcha, Robert? Here we go. The magic is about to happen. The magic is happening. The magic of Instagram. No, maybe I should have sacrificed one of Ed Wiley's goats to get that magic working. Sometimes you need to sacrifice goats for magic. That's just a well-known stat. Oh, Robert G. Lee declined. Well, that's an interesting turn of events. That's never happened here on Calling Comedians in Cquarantine. He just flat out declined. Wow. Okay. Well, okay, so that actually tells me something very interesting. Maybe Robert G. Lee is Superman. Did we just discover something? Did he hear everything that was going on and then decide, no, I'm not going on that show? All those Batman lovers. Come on, Robert. If you are really Superman, I want you to show yourself. Here we go. I'm going to try to get back on with Robert. Here he is. I'm going to add him. Here we go. Batman is calling on Superman. This doesn't happen a lot, but we're going to try. Batman is calling Superman. Batman being Timmy Boyle, Superman being Robert G. Lee tonight. Oh, maybe he's the Flash. Interesting. Oh, that's Cadet Levson is going down an interesting route here. Maybe he's been on the show, and the show's already done, and I didn't even know the show was done. Huh. Well, this has taken some intense turns. So if he's the Flash, and I'm Batman, we're still missing who Superman is, and we're missing who Wonder Woman is. Anybody want to take that mantle right now? Do we have a Wonder Woman in the house as we're waiting for Robert G. Lee? No. Anybody? Joy says he's offended at calling him fashionably late. No, that doesn't sound like Robert. That doesn't sound like he would get offended at something like that. I think he's actually got a phone that has kryptonite in it. I think somebody in his town realized that we could stop Robert from being on that show with just a little touch of kryptonite just in the buttons. So be careful out there, people, because you don't know. You don't know who's using your phones. Well, usually we know. Alyssa, yes, thank you. No, Jennifer is not Wonder Woman. Is that what it is? But Alyssa Milano is now Wonder Woman, and Joy is Superman. Okay, we've figured all this out. So I am Batman. Robert G. Lee is Flash. Joy is Superman, and Alyssa Milano is Wonder Woman. So we got everybody there. Oh, we don't have an Aquaman. We need an Aquaman. Can anybody swim? Oh, wait, here we go. I think we got Robert G. Lee. We don't have an Aquaman yet, but we pretty much got the Legion together. There he is.
Oh my Lord.
Hi, Robert.
Hold on, I'm trying to get my sound up now. Oh, it's been the most frustrating thing in the world. I am so sorry.
Nope. Hey, we've had some tough times on this thing.
I am the big, no, every time I would say accept, it would take me out because my microphone wasn't set up on my camera. So I'm so sorry.
That's okay.
Oh my gosh.
you happen to hear the discussion that was going on at all during the program?
Every time I'd come back, it was somebody else was a different superhero. That's all I heard. And then,
well,
and then it would take me somewhere else. I go, no, I have to get back to Timmy. I'm so sorry.
Along the route here, you were at one point Superman. That was the theory.
Ooh.
And so let me just say, oh no, Robert.
Okay, go on.
Robert.
I just happened to be wearing that T-shirt.
Are you serious? It just happened to be on?
Yeah.
Okay. So you weren't here, but this is how the discussion all started. So this is the home of Batman. That there is the cowl from the 1989 Batman series, and I am a diehard Batman fan. So the fact that you were just wearing that shirt when we were telling everybody that the theory was that you left and you wouldn't coming back because we were bashing Superman, and so you were like, I'm out of here, and now you're an actual Superman supporter.
But I love Batman too, so it's okay. I'm a big DC fan. I have been my whole life.
You can't love them both. It's one of those divisive things. You can only pick one or the other.
Okay, then I'll pick Wonder Woman.
All right, Robert.
She's a babe. Here. Let me just show you. Let me show you what's on my wall, just so you know. Look at that. Okay,
you got the Justice League.
Justice League there. I've got Batman and Superman down here.
Oh man.
The whole Justice League up here.
so that is so awesome.
Yeah, it's Alex Ross. He's my favorite artist in the DC universe, and he changed the way he painted things, and I just love him. So yeah, so I've got more down in my garage, but I'm not going to walk down there.
Okay, well then yeah, you and I need to have a conversation about this in general. That is one of the most awesome little display of pictures that just made me very, very excited. Cadet here says that you must be Flash and Superman combined because you saw the future and then wore that shirt. So you kind of
okay. Let's do that. Okay,
well, that could happen. Well, I'm so excited that you're here tonight. So thank you so much for joining us on Calling Comedians in Cquarantine.
I know you are, and you did Joel Madison on Saturday, and I was ready at quarter till, and anyway, doesn't matter. I'm here.
I'm excited that you're here. Hey, so where are you in Cquarantine right now? Where are you?
I'm in my office in Los Angeles, California. So I am in the state that things are happening, but it's not as bad as New York. And yeah, I went to the grocery store today. I mean, the big stuff, you wake up, what do we eat? What do we exercise? And what do we watch? And then I go to bed. And that's,
yeah.
I do a little bit of comedy in the middle of it, and that's about it.
And now we can actually do all that. We can do all that from our homes in general anyways, right?
Yes, but I was working for the TV studio, warming up one day at a time, and of course, no audiences, and they pulled the plug. But we just got news today that Sony is going to pay for 3 weeks of our work without even going in. So that was a pretty good piece of news today.
Yeah, no kidding. How is warm-up comedy when there are no people there? Is that how is that? Is that good? Is it bad? Is it indifferent?
It's got to, no, it doesn't work at all. No, it's they pulled the plug, baby. They're afraid of Rita Moreno. She's like 87 and they're not going to get her sick. So no, I was out immediately.
So that's how good you are. They paid you 3 weeks for not performing.
Yes, exactly. It was wonderful.
That's incredible. So the whole warm-up comedy thing, I want to talk to you about a few things here. We try to keep the shows under 5.5 hours. So
okay. All right.
We'll hit as many topics as we can. But I haven't come across anybody in my journeys that is a warm-up comic. And so I went on IMDb because I just enjoy going on there in general just to see everybody who's on there, what they're doing. And that's the first thing that shows up is all your warm-up stuff. Yeah. So you've been warming up sitcoms for like what, 30 years?
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
And what does that mean?
All right. So nobody knows what a warm up is. So a warm up, every show that films in front of a live audience needs someone to keep the audience entertained while the actors go change their clothes and do set changes. So you go in thinking it's only going to be 22 minutes. No, it's 4.5 to 5 hours long. And so when they're changing their clothes on Cheers, I think of her as Diane Chambers. Shelley Long. Yeah. Shelley Long used to iron her clothes in between every take so they wouldn't look wrinkled. So those takes took a long time. And some people have a hard time memorizing their lines. And so I won't mention those names. But then you do take after take after take. The warm-up guy the audience has to start off at a certain level, and you have to be able to hear what the producers want for the laugh level, and it has to stay there the whole show. And so if they're lagging, you do a contest or play music or something to get them pumped up again. But by the time the show is over, the audience has to know that, this is where that joke hits, and you got to laugh hard there. And when you do a scene 2 or 3 times, the audience gets bored with it, and you got to make sure that they're laughing the third take as they did the first take. So it's a very specific job, but you don't have to go on the road, and you get to be with a family, and it really trains you how to ad lib, because people don't want to hear your material. You just have to ad lib for hours and hours on end. So it makes you very comfortable in front of a crowd. No, you're right. Nobody knows about that. So when a show is going really well with a live studio audience laughing, really it's you. Oh, no, I will not claim that. No, because the audience is primed, and if the sitcom if they don't deliver, doesn't matter how good of a job I do, the joke is still going to die. But if the audience is not primed, then they blame me. So let's flip that. If the show does really well, it's because of the show. If the show bombs, it's because of me.
Right. So you only get credit if things go wrong.
Yes.
That's awesome. So that gig sounds like something like I would love that gig. Like one of my favorite things to do is just chat to crowds. Like if I haven't gone that route, like I still bring in my material, but I love MC work and hosting role. Like how did you fall into a job like that? That seems like a dream job for someone like me. How did you do it?
It's an absolute dream job. It started off, there was a comic named Ray Combs. He was the host of Family Feud for a while.
Yeah, he was a comic?
Yeah, he was a comic, and he lied his way into a TV show. And he called up as his own agent saying, "Oh, I got this great guy. His name is Ray Combs. He'd be perfect for a warm-up." So he talked his way into a show. He had no act. He'd never done it before. So he came over to my place, and we just jammed, and we wrote an entire act on how to ad-lib and different games and different things, like play the dating game and different things. And then I followed him, and we worked on his routine for about a year. And then when he left one show, he brought me in as, Robert knows what's going on. He's seen the show. And so I got my first break on Golden Girls some 30-some years ago.
Wow.
So,
and then you just stayed in it. You just keep on going.
Once you get one, it's the catch-22. You can't do it until you've done it. Until you've done it, you can't do it, because producers don't trust you. And so once you get a show, then I called up Designing Women. I had them come over. Then I sent the tape over to Perfect Strangers and said, "Here's my credits. I've done this so far." And then you wait for someone to get sick, and when they do, boom, you're in. and then hopefully you meet up with some producers who want you for their whole season, and that's how you make a career. So I made a career of it. Didn't help me at all in stand-up comedy. Nobody knows who I am, so I'm reinventing myself now. But that's how I started.
Well, I can promise you this. Being on this show now, people will know who you are. There's almost 9 people watching.
That's fantastic. Okay.
So
okay.
Those 9, share it to other 9 people. Don't be surprised if your phone gets ringing off the hook after this.
Well, since there are no shows being taped, hopefully that'll come true in a few months. Yes.
This one here, actually, I was hoping that you would come in on the early end, because you could have got everybody like warmed up for the show, but then
yeah, technology, I blew it. Yeah,
probably one of the it'll probably be one of the weaknesses, I guess, towards somebody getting a job as a warm-up when they show up late. Like, is that kind of like coming after the show started?
Yeah, that would be a negative. Yeah.
Okay, all right, well, I'm gonna trust that they've kept
that did happen one time. A show changed their schedule, and fortunately I was home, I was dressed, I was shaved, and they called up and said, "Where are you?" I said, I'm home. They go, "We changed the show, it's tonight." So I had to drive down, and that solidified me on that show, because the producer had to do it until I showed up. He said, "We will never fire you as long as this show goes on." So I said, "Okay, I'll be late again sometime."
You got to know how to play the game, Robert. So I was looking at some of the shows you did though for warm-ups. You mentioned Designing Women, which was a favorite of mine. Perfect Strangers. I mean, that's very cool. But then you did Wings in the 90s. I loved that show. That was a brilliant piece of work.
It was.
And then you ended up doing Becker with Ted Danson. Now, Ted Danson, for me, like Cheers is the best sitcom that's ever been out there in so many levels. And Ted has gone on to do not only Cheers, but Becker. I think he did CSI stuff, and then he went on to do The Good Place.
Mm-hmm.
What an amazing man. What one of all those shows did you enjoy working at the most?
You just mentioned probably my top shows. Perfect Strangers was great because it was just pure comedy. That's all it was. It was over quick. They had a huge audience. 400 people was the biggest audience I've ever had. They started shrinking the audience sizes down after Perfect Strangers, but the guys were just great. Then Bronson Pinchot became Bronson Pinchot, and things got harder and harder and harder to deal with. Actors are very interesting as far as the breed goes. But then when Cheers was done, I did the last episode of Cheers. They brought me in, and it was the historic 1-hour episode. It was just so exciting. But I knew the people who worked on that show, and then they started Wings, and so I worked on Wings, and everybody was just, I can't tell you how much that show was so much fun. It was just fantastic. Then the writers of that show started Frasier. So I did the pilot of Frasier, but it's shot on the exact same night as Wings. So I stayed with Wings. And then from Wings, those producers went over to do Becker. And so I've got to tell you, Ted Danson, you always hear stories about, here's my Hollywood story. You become what you always were. So if you were a jerk and you hid it until you became successful, once you're successful, you don't have to hide it anymore. But if you were just a genuinely nice person, that you don't change. Ted Danson, Julie Louis-Dreyfus, 2 of the nicest people you'd ever want to meet. Ted would play with me on stage. We had a little routine worked out where I would kind of insult him under my breath, and he'd turn around and look at me, and he'd ask somebody what I'd say. Then he'd have me fired in the middle of the show. I mean, he just loved to play. And Mary Steenburgen came in, his wife, and they were just warm, wonderful. I can't say enough about Ted Danson. He's just a great guy.
I love hearing that stuff. That show to me was just brilliant. It's no wonder that Wings I think was underappreciated.
Definitely.
But you could tell someone who watched Cheers, you could tell like that's the same people. Like it was an underrated show. I mean, Frasier, for good reason, was a highly that character alone is 20 plus years. That's phenomenal as an actor for Kelsey Grammer to do what he did. But that's super cool. So I noticed that you actually acted on a few of these shows as well. You have a few acting roles. Now, so I want to talk about Perfect Strangers in particular. You were apparently a delivery man for 3 episodes. Okay.
Yes, that a very big role. Yes, became a recurring character. Yeah.
But then it says on a thing, and at first I didn't quite understand what was going on. It said you had a role as Robert Gary Lee, and you had that a couple times, and then on another show he said as Robert Gary Lee. And then I was sitting there thinking, did you have some sort of like Tony Danza thing going on where like you always called yourself your own name on the show?
No, it's just, I was just like, instead of just saying delivery man, they just said, he's Robert Gary Lee. So I think that was the name they gave me because they didn't want to insult me by saying, you're just a delivery guy. Come in and give them a package and get out. So, and then I played an actor one time, and I think they named the actor Robert Gary Lee. I mean, they were just having fun with me. So that was...
Okay, so it wasn't a Tony Danza. I can't remember my character's name, so please just keep calling me Tony.
Just call me Tony. No.
I think every show he did,
was Tony.
Was Tony.
Because he turns. Yeah.
That's very cool. Hey, if you go to your website though, it's robertglee.com, I think.
That's right.
So do you ever get people who call you Robert Glee?
I do. Yeah, it happens a lot. It's kind of funny. And people get, I think one of the funniest ones was when a lady got mad at me and she left a phone message and said, Robert Glee, I'm angry with you. It's like, well, if you're going to be mad, at least get my name right. But yeah, sometimes I get the Robert Glee. Yeah.
How can you be mad if the guy's name is Glee?
Come on.
For those of you who are tuning in right now, my name is Timmy Boyle. Below me, unless your phone is upside down, is Robert G. Lee, a warm-up act for sitcoms over the last 30-plus years, and obviously huge acting credits as well. Yes. So we don't want to underestimate those. I don't want that to just fly under the radar here. But you are most known for something called Can I Get a Witness Protection? Now, I didn't know you were known for that, but that's what IMDb says you are most known. Did you know that that's what they say?
No, I did not know that.
That's kind of,
and since only 15 people have seen that does beat your viewership by about 2 times. So we're doing okay.
All right, fair enough. So what is that? So, but you had your name written all over that thing. Like you wrote it, directed it, what?
Yeah, it was a small, independent, faith-based film. Loved doing it. I had a lot of friends in LA. And we were doing videos for churches and comedy pieces. And then people said, we want you to take this bigger. And what we found was that the faith-based market was not ready for a Christian comedy. And so it just died. It died. And nobody would take it. And here's the best thing. Okay, so it was called Can I Get a Witness Protection? It's a comedy. It's about a guy who sees a drug land murder, and they hide him in a church. And then the very first day on the job, the head pastor has a heart attack and dies. And so he has to take over the church. So the whole point is he's a guy who doesn't know anything about faith, and he has to run a church. Well, that means he's in the pulpit without going to seminary first.
Right.
And that was the problem that things like PureFlix and Christian bookstores had with the film. Says, well, now we can't send this out to our patrons because the man in the pulpit didn't go to seminary. I go, yeah, that's the point of the film. It's a guy who doesn't know what he's doing, and he slowly comes to faith as he figures out what he should be doing. And it's a big disaster. And then, of course, the conflict with the drug guys at the end, and it's all wrapped up in a bow, and people laugh, and it's, we have a hug moment, and we're out. But it was just amazing to me that I was it's like they just couldn't get the fact, but he didn't go to seminary. That's right, because here's the story, and so people just would. The people who watched it, I've got great reviews on Amazon. Oh my goodness, I've got so many 5-star reviews from Joe and Linda Schmo. But I have not a single cable company or books. Of course, it's kind of ironic that all the Christian bookstores went out of business right after my film came out. So I'm not saying it was because of my film, but definitely they all shut their doors soon after.
All right. Well, can I get a witness protection? So if you're out there right now and you want to watch that, I've been doing shows in the church for 12 years now, and was in the church through years, and I still don't think they understand comedy. So I don't think
it's a very tricky thing because people are just ready to be offended and nervous. And then you have to relax them, and you're okay until you say that one thing that's wrong. I mean, I've had people get mad at me because I talked about a peanut allergy, and it's like, I didn't know your son had a peanut allergy. I'm really sorry. So you just end up apologizing for everything. But yeah, so anyway, I love doing it. I really thought, okay, I'm going to be going into faith-based films, and because I'm gonna bring comedy in, and no, they're not ready. They want to have true bait, and there's some really good films out there, like I Still Believe last year, and there's some good films and some absolutely horrible films. So we said, okay, we're going to go out there and we're going to change the marketplace, and it takes a lot of money, and no, just not going to happen. So that was, if that's what I'm best known for, I will wear that as a badge of honor. But yes, only about 15 people have seen it.
So you can also apparently, and I mean, this might be true or not, you can perform the Bible in 30 minutes. True or false? 27
minutes, actually. I've cut it down. And I'm going to do it on the Huckabee show in July, and they're going to let me do 6 minutes. So, yeah, it's very, very short.
How, speaking of cutting it down, how do you do the portion in the Bible where David collects the foreskins? How do you do that within your time limit?
That's implied.
Okay, all right.
It's not, I do tend to edit a bit. Yeah, I don't show all of it.
Okay, fair enough. How did you get on the cover of Wall Street Journal? How is that possible?
I know, I have a friend who's a lawyer, another friend who's a judge. They said, how did you get on the cover and we're not on the cover? It was back in the 90s, and there was a game show called Inspiration Please, and I was the host of Inspiration Please, and they flew me to New York. We would do 600 episodes in about a week, and it would be fewer than that, but we did at least 7 a day for about 2 weeks, and then first prize was a trip to Israel. Second place was 2 weeks in Israel. It was that kind of joke, because there was so much violence going on in Israel at the time that nobody wanted to take our prize. But that the Wall Street Journal did an article about it, and I was the host of it. So I'm on the cover of the Wall Street Journal. Yes, I was.
My dream job. No, I guess I have a couple. One would be on a sitcom, and the other one would be a game show host. I'm
living your best life.
You are, yeah. I want to be Robert Glee. Like that's my thing. Did you like doing the game show? I think it
was so much fun. I mean, there are a lot of restrictions, and but it was just so much fun, because they brought me in because of warm-up comedy, because I could be loose and just have fun with the show. But then you have to say things like, they just throw a name. It's like, now I can say it now, but Oberammergau. Okay, try being on television and someone just gives you a cue card and they're supposed to say, and of course, Oberammergau. There were a couple of those where I just tripped and made a horrible fool of myself, and then I would catch on later. But I loved it. But yeah, they had a budget of about $6, and it was shot in New York, right next to the, it's a Trinity Church, which is right next to the Twin Towers, which eventually, of course, went down. But that was, it was a lot of fun being in New York for that period of time. Yeah.
Now, Marijane Baker says she's going to watch it tonight. I'm assuming that's not the game show. I'm assuming it's her movie. I think she found it on Tubby TV is what she says here. So apparently if you go to Tubby TV, whatever that is.
Well, it's on, you can get it on Amazon Prime as well. I've never heard of Tubby TV, but if they're showing, can I get a witness protection? Okay.
Beautiful. That's awesome. So the last time that I really kind of had interaction with you, resulted in me crying in an alley for about 2 weeks down in Pasadena, because you ripped my comedy so badly in a little tiny hotel room with Joel Madison. I don't know if you remember, like, that was a scathing teardown of everything that I love. I could barely get home, had to delay my flight because I was just in a wreck. So in all of your accomplishments in your life, where does that one rank?
Well, I would say, if I hurt your feelings at all, I've had a thing in my heart that has really been ding. I didn't know what it was, and I guess that was it. I guess so you brought Joel on to tear him down on Saturday, and me today. So this is your retribution. So I deserve whatever you say. I deserve it. But if I hurt your heart in any way, I thought it was constructive, but evidently it was demeaning, and you felt horrible afterwards. So. Well, here's the question. Did it help you improve?
It did, yeah. No, it was one of my favorite moments on the entire trip to Pasadena. It really was. I was telling Joel, I said, there's no way, because he was asking me, could we have done it different? He says it felt kind of weird, like we're just kind of like hijacking these people, like they don't even know what's about to happen. I was super thrilled about the whole experience, and very, very excited. And yeah, no, it did. I think it helped me improve. I came back and I applied, kind of the basic principles, which was get better, is what I think you guys said. So I did. I just got better. I didn't have a practical element in that.
And for you, it was a different kind of criticism because you already know how to do comedy. Some people that were critiquing didn't know how to put a joke together. So we were telling them, okay, this is how you set it up. This is your setup. Excuse me. This is your payoff. With you, it's like, okay, I want the orange juice to pay off. That's what I want from you.
I'm so excited. The first 12 episodes, we didn't have orange juice because I lost so many gigs. I just had to buy water. But
it's back.
I got these people who I've been promoting this Cquarantine with Timmy. So people have been hiring me to go on video chat with their family and like just hang out. So I got a little bit of cash flow. So the orange juice is flowing like the Nile right now.
I'm glad that's your signature.
That's my signature. Hey, so we obviously have Batman and DC in common. Your love of Cheers, that puts us on another level as well. And then I read, I think it was on your website. It talked about it was one phrase, but it said your Monty Python sensibilities. Now, if that is indeed a true reflection of your character, Robert G. Lee, we need to go have dinner sometime because Monty Python, I grew up on the British comedies. It's one of the reasons why I like to dress up as Cher and wear drag. I still find that funny. The church frowns upon it sometimes, but tell me about Monty Python. Tell me about its influences and why you use that as a description.
Well, all right. And that description came from me writing for VeggieTales because VeggieTales, I wrote for them in the 90s. And they could find people who were funny but didn't know the Bible, or people who knew the Bible and were so scholarly they didn't know anything about comedy. And so I was the guy who actually understood comedy and knew the Bible. And so you put those two together, and that's where it comes from. But yes, I do. There are certain influences in my life. And when you get to college, it was Monty Python. And Monty Python, so I've got the whole box set downstairs, and I've got their movies, and I love everything about them. And I've got John Cleese's book, and I've seen them live, and I saw them live at the Hollywood Bowl when they came out here back in the 90s. It was like, so when you see live at the Hollywood Bowl, I'm in that audience. So they are irreverent. They're hilarious. And we copied I was doing a comedy show in college at that time, and you emulate what you love. And so it was that just the way that they would do a sketch that would bleed into another sketch and everything would always come together at the end. They were genius. Now I will say the first time we saw them, I worked at a t-shirt shop back in Indiana. I was in Indianapolis, Indiana, and the guy sponsored the Holy Grail. And so all the staff, all the guys, we all went to see the Holy Grail, and we left it going, what was that? We had no idea, and we'd never been introduced to him. And then the next day we started talking about it. We said, that part was pretty funny. And then we started doing the Black Knight, and we started laughing more. And we all went back the next night and had to watch it again. And from that point on, I've been the biggest fan.
Who was your ultimate influence to get you into comedy?
Well, you can't say it anymore, but it was Bill Cosby. I grew up before we knew what kind of person he was behind it. That's why I say Ted Danson and Julia. Some people are just really, really great, and there's nothing hidden. As a kid, when you're growing up in Indiana, I had records from Bill Cosby, and everybody memorized his routines. I saw him when I was 5 years old on television and said, that's what I want to be. And so it was Bill Cosby. And then I was very lonely in my teenage years, so I watched all the old classics. I watched Charlie Chaplin, Buster Keaton, the Marx Brothers. I really fell in love with all the old classics. And then it was Woody Allen, and then it was Monty Python. And so, I mean, I've got stand-ups in the middle of all that, but that kind of describes my comedy.
So were you doing warm-up comedy back when Cosby Show was on? Did you ever want to get on that one?
Well, that was filmed in New York, and so I couldn't do it. But I started after the Cosby Show was done. But it gave a resurgence to sitcoms, and so everybody owes a lot to Bill Cosby starting it because sitcoms were dead before that came back.
Wow. Well, that was my Thursday night with my family, right? That Thursday night lineup where you actually had to come home, get your food, and sit down because we didn't have any other way to watch. You had to get there Thursday night to watch that stuff.
I'm so glad you had that memory because I have the same thing with my family because I'm older. was Saturday night watching All in the Family and Bob Newhart and Mary Tyler Moore. And now I work with Norman Lear on One Day at a Time. So it's just really cool to have that. Little connections.
Bob Newhart is, if I was to have an idol, that's my idol. But I knew him, well, once again, I was a sitcom kid, not a stand-up kid. And so I was a fan of Bob Newhart through Newhart and Bob Newhart. So like when he was the psychiatrist and then he went on, I was a fan of all that but before I even knew he did stand-up.
Yeah.
I finally got to see him live for the very first time, and I'll never see him again because it was one of those moments where it was like, it was good, and I would love to see it again, but I want to hold it as the one time that I saw Bob Newhart, you know, like I don't want to keep that now. That was the only comic I've ever wanted to really go see. And it was brilliant. He was like in the late 80s, I guess. I guess he's could be almost 90 now, but that's impressive. We're getting ready. We're going to wrap up here in a minute here, Robert. I want to thank you for coming on the show. And so just so you guys know, they're watching right now. I'm Timmy Boyle, Robert G. Lee below here, watching Calling Comedians in Quarantine. Was it a conscious effort for you to leave your initial in the middle, not just be Robert Lee?
It was because everyone always says, "Oh, it's Robert E. Lee," and I said, "No, it's Robert G. Lee." So it just became a thing, and that's what it came from. I am related to Robert E. Lee, but people don't like that anymore. So, but yeah, Robert G. Lee just has a rhythm to it.
And you're right up there with some cool ones, right? You know, John C. Reilly.
There you go.
Samuel L. Jackson, Michael J. Fox. I mean, these are all William H. Macy. Those are all like, that's all great signal. See, I don't want to have initial. I want to be just a single person. I just want to be Timmy. Just flat out Timmy.
Right.
Like
that's why you dress up as Cher. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Cher, Madonna, Jesus, Sting. You know,
Lassie.
Bono, Timmy. Yeah. Like I want to do that. But you're killing it with the single initial in the middle. That's pretty awesome. What would you leave with people here to help them continue to get through quarantine? I think we're going to be in it for another 400 plus days. Some people say shorter. What would you tell people right now to be able to cope with this quarantine situation?
Well, actually, I have a thing called the Corona Diaries, and they can go on Facebook or YouTube and just look up the Corona Diaries, and it's a different diary entry every single day. And it's basically, the premise is, I woke up and said, well, if we do get wiped out by this pandemic, what would we tell a future generation when they discovered these tapes? And so it's describing humanity and all the foibles and what we do and how we do it to some future generation out there. So it's called, I'm on day 11 right now. And if this does go 400 days, I'll be running out of material fairly soon. But I'm having every day I write material and then I record it and then I edit it and then I put it on the next morning. So I'm having a lot of fun.
That's awesome. So it's the Corona Diaries.
Yes. Yeah.
And can only be found on Facebook?
No, it's on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram. It's not on Instagram yet because the format is, I'm horizontal and this is vertical, so it's not there.
Yeah. Okay. Joy wants to know again the name of the faith-based movie. What was it called again? The movie that you were talking about?
Can I Get a Witness Protection?
Can I get it? Okay, so I'm going to type that in. I'm afraid to push any buttons lest I chop you off here. So I'm going to type that into the thing later, as well as the Corona Diaries. Robert, thank you so much for doing this. An absolute pleasure having you here, and I hope that you and your family stay well. Have you guys come across any zombies in the LA area in the midst of the way this pandemic is showing up?
I've been looking at a lot of your Instagram photos, and nothing like you've encountered. No, nothing at all. No.
Okay, so it might just be a Canadian.
Yeah, I think it is. Yeah.
Okay. Well, if you do come across them, my only way to really, I want to make people laugh, but I also want to give people solid advice. And if you could pass it on to the people in your neck of the woods, that if they do come across a zombie, to just say no, because your brain is for thinking, not eating, Robert. Okay. So
yeah, a brain is a terrible thing to munch on. Yeah.
You don't. No matter what they offer you, it's never. There's only a few things worth more than your brain, and the zombies aren't going to be able to offer you that. So. If I can just, if you could spread that around LA, that would be awesome. And then I know that I'm doing my part.
Yeah, because I was working on sexual purity, but I'll definitely go for the brain first. I'll put that first.
There you go. You made me speechless right there. I didn't know how to follow up on that one. I threw out a circumcision joke earlier, but okay. So go stay well, be healthy. Ladies and gentlemen, you got to check out the Corona Diaries and Can I Get a Witness Protection? We'll stay. Please stay in touch, Robert, and we'll talk soon.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. So I'm glad I could finally get on this.
Thank you so much, man. I appreciate it. Have a great evening, I guess.
And I have to apologize again for Pasadena. I'm so sorry. It hurt your heart.
It was one of my favorite moments ever. I'll get down your way again. Your way again, and we'll do some lunch.
That'd be wonderful. Good. Thank you.
Have a good one. Thanks, man.
Bye.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Calling Comedians in Cquarantine. Please take a moment to like, share, subscribe, and ring the little bell so you and your friends don't miss any of the laughs. Episodes will be uploaded here until I run out. And be sure to check out the description below for links to connect with myself or my guests on social media, and also download the podcast version of this show. Until next time, remember, your brain, it's for thinking, not for eating. So just say no to zombies.